the monetary value tied to having kids. So when parents split up and you have two different households, and let's say the man was the sole breadwinner, he was making like well into the six figures. So when the family was together, everyone was living nice. So now the households are separate. The father has a super big house, super fancy or whatever. The court is saying, okay, well, you have to provide the same provisions to maintain the stability of the child, even in the mother's home. So the child support matches the lifestyle of the father, not necessarily the lifestyle of the mother. Like, is that fair? Like, should it be required that there be stability in the household, meaning that whoever is the sole breadwinner who's bringing in the most money, they're required to pay enough child support to create a life even for the other parent? Like, is that a real thing? Like, is
Hell
that
no.
No, not a life for the other parent. No.
Well,
But
I
for
mean,
the child, yeah.
well, technically it is for the parent. So meaning, like, let's say a realistic,
Like alimony.
like alimony. Yes, that.
Hell no.
Yeah.
But alimony is based on the lifestyle that you've provided over the last X amount of years, usually 10 years or more. So 10 years is a significant portion. You're not getting alimony of after 3 years of marriage or 5 years of marriage. But if you do a good
Alimony ain't
stint,
fair either.
yeah, if you do a good stint and like you've been living this lifestyle, you put this amount of time, or you took out, maybe you put your career on hold, you have to start your life out, 10 years later. So you might get alimony for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years for you to be able to create a lifestyle for yourself. So it's usually for a short period of time, not forever, unless in some cases it's till you remarry. But I think it's based on the amount of years that you're together.
I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair. And I say that because if that something like that happened to me, then why can't I just keep the kid?
Yeah.
If I have to sponsor a whole other household to bring up to the level what I work for, why can't I just keep the kid?
But you can, but most of the time you don't. In that case, the person that's paying the alimony doesn't want to. You can.
What you mean?
The same way, for example, like Dwayne Wade took his kids. He's not paying his ex-wife alimony. She was on TV with a sign.
I think he was,
because
though.
he has until he had custody of the kids. So he was paying her for a certain period of time, but after he had custody of the kids and whatever their divorce agreement was ended, he no longer had to contribute to whatever her lifestyle was. It's not that he wasn't there to support her, especially if he had custody of the children. So
I don't know. I think if you ask somebody who was paying alimony and child support, if they could just keep the kid and pay neither, they probably just keep the kid.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why you would pay both of those amounts and then
because you're paying for convenience. Like you said, men want to be able to work X amount of hours of overtime. They want to be able to do not in all cases, but in most cases, that's what it is. That means that I can't work as much. That means that I have to be home more. That means that I can't work past a certain amount of time because I got to go to soccer practice. I have to go to football practice. I got to go to PTO. I have to do all the things that normally the other parent would do. Now they would be splitting it, but they're the primary, as you said in the other case, they're the primary provider. And when that comes in, are they willing to give up their freedoms? And they're not.
But in terms of the question though, right? Like, does that make sense to maintain a lifestyle of another after like the separation?
Right. Not of an adult, no.
No.
Absolutely not.
Because Dr. Dre, I pray for that man every day.
Right.
Like, that shit is crazy. Like,
I think he'd be all right though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fourth part, but it just, it's just weird, man. Like,
it's not. First of all, it's not anything that we could understand because we don't have that kind of money. But at the same time, how many years were they together? 20.
Yeah.
That's a lifetime. And it wasn't like it wasn't like she was a bum that was just, she had a life, she had a career before. She was an attorney, or I can't remember what she was.
She was an attorney. She was an attorney.
Well, she can't attorney no more.
No, she
Right.
can, and I'm sure that she does. But what I'm saying is that you're giving up a life. You give 20 years is a long period of
Yeah,
time.
but nobody asked her to give up her life.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, you are. When you live in that kind of when you're living that kind of lifestyle, you are being asked to give up your life.
That
You
generation
don't
though.
have to. You don't have to.
Yeah.
You can absolutely
Depending on the
still.
dynamics, yeah, you're talking about a person with freedoms and you choosing to make the
We should all have freedoms.
Right.
but you don't
Slavery
always
didn't have
that's
freedom.
not always the case in a relationship. It's
You in a
it's
slave
easier said than
situation.
done.
Well, it's real
It's easier
easy.
said than done.
I'm gonna always have my freedoms.
You're also a male.
Hey, you should work.
You're
But the
also a
thing is,
male.
like they had a prenup, so they had a prenup, and she tried to void the whole prenup. And I'm just like, well, that's the point of a prenup, so that way you can't void, whatever was agreed to when it comes down to a divorce. So, to me, sometimes I do feel like as women, we do compromise ourselves in a sense where we attach ourselves to our significant others and we take on their life and their lifestyle. And then when shit hits the fan, we want to be compensated for that, because we feel like we're at a loss. But is that fair? So that's what I'm saying. And so for me, Dr. Dre, like, he created his businesses, he created his empire. Not to say that she didn't support him and she didn't help him in that, and that she's owed something. But is she owed half? Is she
Not
owed?
old nothing. She ain't helping
But I
nothing. What
guess
are we
it
talking
depends. I
about?
mean, marriage is a business deal. You have it's a business partner that you happen to have sex with and sometimes have kids with. Marriage is a business deal. Anything outside of that, stay boyfriend and girlfriend. You're tying into your once you get married, it's a business. People get married for the sake of life insurance. People get married for the sake of medical insurance. They get because, if you die, I want to make sure that I'm taken care of. For what reason? It's a business deal. So just like any other business, when you pull out and like I don't want to be a part of this business anymore, you go to the partner and say you got to buy me out. That's the way that it
Well, but
works.
that's the whole purpose of the prenup. Again, like, the prenup is a business contract saying, okay, as we enter into this business, this is what's going to
Unless
be
you
the
breach the contract in some kind of way.
No, that's a contingency that's written into the contract. I'm pretty sure they said if there's infidelity.
Right. So I'm assuming, I mean, she had a settlement. So there must have been, I don't know the details of this specific incident, but I'm assuming that there was some things that were broken, right? There was probably some contingency items or there was some things that weren't followed, which is why she was paid out because there was a prenup involved,
Yeah.
as
Well,
you're saying. I mean, I don't know the story in its
yeah.
full, but
Well,
besides that, she got paid.
also with prenups, right? So there's just a couple parameters that people don't follow that they need to follow. For instance, if you have a prenup but you have the same lawyer, right?
Hmm.
That there's a bias there, right? And so now you're
Yeah.
going for the judge. Judge is a person. They could say, okay, well, this is your lawyer, right? That managed both of you through this process. It's biased, therefore I can throw it out. Or if somebody signs something under duress, right? They could say I was pressured into signing it. Or let's say she signed it a day before the wedding and she didn't know about it until a day before the wedding. Now it's saying they didn't have enough time to vet this contract and they were pressured and forced it to there being their biggest day of their life, right? So there's a lot of ways people can kind
Yeah,
of,
there's always
mistakes
loopholes.
are made. So, and again, judges, they do that type of shit.
Mm-hmm.
They think one way, or he just got burnt on his prenup. It's just a host of things that could happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, and the law is supposed to be black and white, but it's often gray.
Mm-hmm.